Hey everyone, this is PrinceWatercress, and welcome back to Let's Play Vanguard for the Atari 2600. In the first video, I played through the game and I gave myself an impromptu one credit clear of the first loop. Did not even expect for that to happen. I thought maybe I would continue once or twice, but, well, that didn't happen and I managed to just get through the game just like that in one fell swoop with all my words on the tip of my tongue and my inability to mention how to get through much of anything. Hopefully I'll be able to do that in this next video. And speaking of this next video, there are only two game variations with the game select switch. There's the one-player mode and the two-player mode, which is of course two-player alternating. The real variations are in the difficulty switches. So when you start the game, basically there are, just like with any Atari 2600 game, there are 4 different combinations with the left player difficulty switch and the right player difficulty switch. There's A and there's B. A being the expert setting and the B being the novice setting, in case you're using the Sears Telegame console, which was basically a Atari 2600 with a Sears branding on it. I keep mentioning the Sears Telegames from time to time. That's basically what that was. And if you set both to B/novice, I think, you move the joystick in the direction you want to fire, and you press and hold the red button to stop firing and move more quickly. Also, the forward gun fires automatically. So you always have a gun shooting forward and backwards, as well as whatever direction you want to fire, which you choose with the joystick. And you can only fire up, down, left, or right. So let's see here. F6 and F8. I'm using the Cella emulator for those wondering. And from here, let's go ahead and start a new game here. And let's explain stuff. Well, we got these things. These things will mess about every so often. We can grab a E can if we hold down the fire button to stop firing and move towards it. We move there as quickly as possible. And after we grab the E-can, we glow all these rainbow colors, and we are invincible for as long as this music is playing. Which is good, because we can protect ourselves against running into walls, and we can also protect ourselves from being shot by lasers. So what I'm doing here with the lasers, with my lasers, I'm very gently tapping the joystick in the direction that I want to fire when the enemy is nearby, or in case the enemy who is in the direction I want to fire is nearby, so that way I can easily take care of them and give myself some room. And now we got this kind of area. Might as well take advantage of the invincibility here. And here I want to move very slowly. And in case there are any of these things coming up towards me from the side, I do want to fire to the side immediately against these little ovals. I make that look a lot less difficult than it actually should. Now for this part, you have the spaceships showing up, then the weird little things that we saw at the very beginning of the game showing up after them. you really want to be ready to avoid lasers and just hold the button down as much as whenever possible. So that way, you'll be ready to move, and you won't get shot all the time. And you won't have things running into you either. Obviously, you have your score and your lives at the bottom, but the little brown bar, that is an energy meter of sorts. And you'll keep filling it up as long as you keep firing on enemies. And I am having more trouble with this than I should, which is really bad. And the other enemies should be showing up somewhere around here. Now, unlike the first part where you went from left to right, here you don't have the luxury of getting an E-can. So you really have to rely on your gameplay skills to get through this part. And here's a continue screen. When the game says continue, the little energy bar turns white, and you want to press the fire button before the bar vanishes. If you do that, you'll continue, you'll have a fresh new set of lives, but your score will go down to 0. You can only continue during the first loop, so keep that in mind. Once you hit the second loop, you're on your own. You will really be forced to survive, because the game will force you to survive. And here's more of these things again. Getting ready to... Ugh. I am having a terrible time, I have to admit. It's been so long since I played the first video, since I made the first video, that I'm not having as good a time here. And yeah, just more of the same from the first vertical section. And here, we can pick up an energy can, and we need to destroy the little saucer-looking things, as well as the things creating the barrier for points. The little square you have to avoid. If you take the left route, you will have to deal with enemies that will constantly get in your way. They'll just move back and forth and get in your way. I just stick to the right side because it's a lot easier, and you only really have to deal with the things producing the barriers as well as the little moving squares. That's it, really. And now for a third vertical section. And there's more of these ovals again. And we need to shoot them down. Hopefully this will not be really bad. And I got through that really quickly. And of course, you have your fourth and final vertical section. Well, not exactly final, but the final normal one. If you run into these things, they give you points. Like so. But you lose a little bit of your energy doing that. Also, if you run into one of these, or the same one, too many times, the enemy will attack you. And eventually, you'll have to deal with these little arrow-looking things. You want to shoot down as many of these as possible, not just for the points, but also for the energy as well. And finally, here's the final boss. The longer you go without shooting the thing at the top, the little face, the more points you get. I can never go with less than 5 seconds without shooting the face. You'll get a different map for the second loop, and everything will pop up in a more random order. But you'll still have all the same screens from the first loop showing up here. Also, this is a lot faster than it was the first time around. And my invincibility ran out when I didn't want it to. And if I keep this up, I'm just going to get sent back to the attract mode of this game before I even have a chance to show off a whole second loop. Not that I'm planning to show a whole second loop, but well, that is a thing that can happen. Really want to avoid the lasers. There we go. Can I grab that? Yes, I can. Good thing we did, because I want to avoid being smashed into the nearest wall, as I do virtually any of this. Or running into that. That would also be bad. And man, this is a lot faster under the second loop. If you ever complete the second loop, you just go back between the first and the second loop. You just keep alternating between those. But the second loop is a little more random. I don't really see myself completing the second loop. First loop is fun enough as far as I'm concerned. But at least it's there for those who want to challenge and those who want to get better. Now, we played with both of the difficulty switches on Novice. What if we set left to B /Novice and right to A /Expert? Well, let's see. Well, you only shoot in 2 directions as opposed to 2 or 3. Oof. This I could get used to. Do the... I bet the... yeah, they do. I'm about to say, do the difficulty switches settings say when I reset on the Stella emulator? And of course the answer is yes. It wouldn't make sense for them to suddenly be at whatever they were at the start of me loading the game and everything. Of course they would say the same. What am I talking about? This is a little more difficult compared to setting both of these switches to Novice. I do have to admit. Simply because you don't have that little extra layer of protection there. Things can get a little nasty. And you're not always firing forward. So you have to remember to keep firing forward by moving forward if you want to destroy some enemies. You really have to watch what you're doing. But even then, this little setting, not too bad at all. I really don't have much of a problem with it. Oh, come on. Well, since my gun isn't always firing forward, it is a little easier to concentrate on parts like this. So we got that going for us, which is all right. You can retrain your game to play this way. It's definitely possible. Matter of fact, since I'm not always firing forward, I don't have to worry about shooting enemies first before they shoot me. Though I do need to remember to hold down the fire button to stop firing when necessary, to make it a little easier to, well, not get shot. I mean, that would be nice sometimes. I can also do a few back shots to get some extra points, and that went horribly south. So did that. I need to remember to hold the fire button. Otherwise, I am going to have a very bad time. And now we're out of that section. And I thought I would be able to fire to the side and hit that properly, but, well, nope. Obviously that wasn't going to happen. Come on, fire at it already. Thank you. And now for this part. Thankfully, I have the E-can for invincibility. That's always nice to have. And from here, need to remember to give myself some room between myself and what is producing the barrier. That way I can move forward just a little bit and then fire. Because again, I don't have that safety net of the forward laser always firing. And really concentrating here. That was a nice lucky shot for that back shot at the end. I enjoyed that. I really enjoyed doing that. Want to make sure I also don't run into any walls while I'm doing this. That would be bad. Alright. Time for these things. Well, at least I remember to hold the fire button then. And, well, if you fail to destroy the boss when you reach it, you just get sent straight to the second loop. And now I'm trying really hard to concentrate to see how far I can play with this. There we go. Let's see if we can grab that. Yes, we can. Alright. Can't believe I'm getting my hands on another one of these things. And a third. Well, I'm getting a lot of points here. Now for this section, whatever it is. Let's just hope this doesn't run out while I'm inside of a wall. And that went about as horribly as I imagined it would. So did that. Man, I'm just going to keep dying at this part on the second loop every single time, aren't I? Yes, I am. Well, left B, right A was fun. But now let's try left A, right B. I really should be using left A, right A. Let's do that first. Left A, right A has you pressing the fire button and moving the direction, moving the joystick in the direction you want to fire. And of course you have to release the button to stop firing. Let's see how that works. Oh, so it's the reverse of what we were doing. Oh, this is weird. This feels really weird. Almost. Except you move a little too fast when you're trying to fire in the direction you want to fire. Well, now that we're used to that, let's see if I can do this again. I mean, you could get used to this. And that was terrible. That was terrible and preventable. Let's do it again. And I missed out on invincibility, but you know what? I'd rather practice this where possible. And now I'm able to get the invincibility that I wanted. There we go. This you can get used to if you know what you're doing. I mean, as soon as you're able to identify what's to your side or what's ahead of you, you'll be able to fire at them right away and make it work for you. That was cool. And of course, it's a little easier to move to avoid these things when necessary, except when, well, you can't for one reason or another. And I seem to be hitting these things a lot more often. But I really need to line the horizontal cannons up with the rest of the enemies, or else I'm not going to stand much of a chance here. Yeah, you really have to get used to aiming and everything again. So it can still be a little weird. I'm not going to play a full first loop with this setting, because I've already shown off continues. I just want to show off all of the difficulty switch combinations as far as movement and firing goes. And I thought I was going to crash into that enemy there. And I am not getting as many things for energy as I would like. And yeah, you know what? Okay. Left A, right B. Same as left A, right A, except you do not have to move the joystick forward to fire forward. The forward laser gun fires automatically when the red button is pressed. Okay, let's try that out. I said let's try that out. Pressing the wrong buttons here. There we go. So just pressing the fire button lets you fire forward every single time. You still have to hold the joystick and press the fire button to fire in the directions you want, still, much like with left B, right B. But at least you have the safety net of always having the forward laser firing whenever you activate, well, firing. So this is getting a little more interesting, a little easier to do, I have to admit. It's always nice to have a forward-firing laser that allows you to attack 2 things at once. Maybe even 3 things if you're lucky. There we go. And we should be able to do this now. And, whew. Alright. Well, having a forward-firing laser definitely helps with the second horizontal section. I know that the horizontal sections have names. All the sections have names, and they're all in the manual. But I don't remember all of them on the top of my head. And these things fire lasers. I need to remember that. At least they're not firing lasers when they do that. I also really need to learn how to take advantage of exactly what having a forward-firing cannon that always fires at the press of a button can do. Because it's pretty obvious that I'm not exactly fully taking advantage of that. And, well, there's more of these things. Man, I am just not doing very well, am I? Well, I've checked out all of the difficulty switch combinations. I still like left B, right B the best. However, left A, right B is the next best thing as far as I can tell. And I could just as easily play with that difficulty switch combination as I can with left novice, right novice, or left B, right B. So there is that. And it's pretty good to know that regardless of which difficulty switch combination that you play this game with, Vanguard is a fine, nice, wonderful game to play. Definitely one for the Atari 2600 collection. And that leads to my mini review. How does this game stack up? Well, graphics look pretty nice. I like all the rainbow stuff that's going on with the walls and everything. Enemies look distinctly different from each other. You can see the lasers when they are fired. Game scrolls relatively well, especially when you're on the faster second loop. I do like the fact that the game has a continue setting so that you can see the whole game and get better at the same time. Something that I wish other Atari 2600 games had. And I will mention this again when I get to the controls. And it's a good thing that you can continue and play through the first loop regardless of how bad you are. It lets you see everything about this beautiful looking game. I mean, the graphics are basic, but I do like all the color that is here. And you can distinctly tell one enemy from another. Sound and music, well, there's no music, but what sound is here is very arcadey. I wouldn't expect anything less from this game. And it's alright. As for play control, it's pretty solid. Once you get used to the difficulty switch combination of your choice, you can definitely play this game like a pro. Even though the whole ethos of all these Atari 7600 games that I play is easy to pick up and play, hard to master. And there's plenty of fun and challenge to be had in this. And again, I do like the fact that you can continue as many times as you want on the first loop just to see the whole game and maybe try to even get better at it. I believe I managed to get better to the point where I did an impromptu 1 credit clear of the first loop. So there's that. And finally, the replay value. You'll have plenty of fun with this one, I think. Especially when the second loop is involved. If you can get through that with its random sections rather than a fixed sequence on the first loop, you'll have yourself quite a bit of fun trying to see how long you can last. And the fact that there are 4 ways to play with all 4 difficulty switched combinations definitely adds to the replay value as well. And do I recommend getting this game? Absolutely. I do recommend picking this one up and at least trying it out. You may like this one. I am not exactly a shooter guy myself, but I did have a lot of fun with Vanguard. Tosei knew what they were doing with this one. And I'm glad that the folks at Atari were able to program it themselves and make a pretty worthy port of the game for the Atari 2600. And that was Let's Play Vanguard for the Atari 2600. Hopefully I will be back with another game. Maybe it'll be good, maybe it'll be bad, maybe it'll be somewhere in between, who knows. Until then, this is PrinceWatercress. Take care, stay safe, thanks for watching, and see you guys later!